What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon, MLB DFS video. It is Wednesday. It is July 19th, and we are back with a full breakdown. If you don't know what we do here, if you're new here, welcome. Hit the like button if you find this video at all helpful. We're trying to hit 10,000 subs here on YouTube before the start of the NFL season, and if we can do that, someone's going to win a lifetime pass to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. times 2. So 2 people are going to win lifetime passes if we get to 10,000 YouTube subs before the start of the NFL season. What we do is we go through the pitching in the slate. We break it down. We look at it. We see their past games. We see who we like all throughout the day. This one's going to be a little bit different just because we started something new on DraftKings yesterday in yesterday's video. But the problem is this right here is only the main slate. That's all that is available on DraftKings. There's not an all-day slate, and currently there's no early slate. I have to make this earlier on Wednesday night just due to the fact that I have to take my wife to the airport. So I wanted to get this video out to you guys. So we're going to do the first set of games. I think it's 7 games or so. The old way, and maybe try something a little bit new, and then we'll get through it and we'll go look at the DraftKings because a lot of you loved yesterday's video, so I wanted to do that. Also, if you're new, anytime a video gets at least 50 likes and you leave a positive comment and you're a subscriber to our channel, we're going to put your name into random.org. We're going to randomize it 3 times, and on the 3rd time, that winner will receive a free week of MLB content. So we're going to do that real quick, get that out of the way, and on the 3rd time, the winner will be chosen. So there's 1, there's 2, and the winner is Pollock Hillbilly. Again, congratulations. Multiple times he's won. You can do it too. If you come back to the channel, you have a good chance to win multiple times. Gets a free week. You can parlay that into multiple weeks and months if you come back to the channel. Hit the bell notification because we do put out some sports betting videos as well. About the afternoon, so it's not on the internet a long time, just because obviously with Vegas, odds change a lot, so we get those out after we get a bunch of information for you. So that being said, we're going to look at the first part of the games. We're going to look at the early slate, and then we'll jump into the main slate. So if you haven't already, go to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. Check it out. Check the article out for the day. Check everything else out. If these videos are good enough and that's all you need, that's what I would love to see. If you need a little bit more help, we do have FTA Plus. You can go to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, hit FTA Plus, $24.99 for a month, or right now, we still have the promo going. If you click on the year pass, normally $199, use the promo code NFLVIP, you're going to get $100 off for a full year pass. Normal, you're going to be saving $200 a year. So if you do need a little bit more help, and you can ask a lot of people here, they have used it as well. So first game on the slate, Guardians at the Pirates. Now, we don't have any weather to factor in right now. Once we get into the morning time of the day of the slate, we throw in our weather, our Bacon Station weather, and that goes on our cheat sheet under the weather tab. So we're not going to be looking at weather for this early slate here. If you need a little bit more, if you want to look into the weather, that will be on the cheat sheet. So first game, Guardians at the Pirates, Aaron Savale versus Rich Hill. Savale, 15 plate appearances, 143 against him, 20K percentage. Rich Hill, 50 plate appearances, 341. Again, I still don't know how he's been doing what he's doing. And what I'm going to try to do is see if I can get like splits and everything on ESPN, and I really don't know if I can. It's been a while. I don't know. This might take too long to do this. Yeah, so you can kind of see his game logs here. Savale, his last start against Texas, 5 innings. I was at Texas, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts. Had a really good game against Kansas City, but everyone has a really good game against Kansas City. 9 strikeouts in that game. His splits, so he will be pitching on the road. His splits here, you can kind of see them. Home, a 348. Away, 169. Somehow he's just better on the road. He's got a good match against Pittsburgh. I do like Savale here. The talk around is he might be getting traded. He's might be that trade block since Shane Bieber obviously can't get traded being hurt. We're talking about that. So that might be something, might showcase him off. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. But I like Savale here. And then Rich Hill, I don't want anything to do with Rich Hill. I would rather take some of the bats. Now, we can kind of look just to see if Rich Hill... This one might take too long to do this. So we might not do the ESPN part. We'll break down the main slate mostly. But yeah, you can kind of see his game logs, trying to see if he's done anything against them. You can kind of see his game logs. So July, he's sporting a 6.60 ERA, which is considerably almost double what he was in June. He's not good, guys. That's for sure. Looking to see if he's faced Cleveland. He has not this year. I still do not trust him. I would rather take bats against him. Josh Bell's 3 for 15. Jose J. Ram, obviously 6 for 11 with 2 doubles and a home run. Ahmed Rosario, 3 for 10 with 2 doubles. So that's what I'm looking at there. So I'd rather have some of the Guardians bats. I'm not saying I'm stacking the Guardians against Rich Hill, but there are a couple of bats that we could look at there. I won't have any exposure to Rich Hill. I'll be all over Aaron Savale in the early slate. Dodgers at the Orioles is next. You got Julio Urias versus Dean Kramer. Urias, 15 plate appearances, 214 batting average. Kramer, 12 plate appearances. They haven't seen him much. Again, just like in yesterday, it's hard to take a pitcher against this Dodgers team. It really is. So we look at Urias here. Obviously, we know he came back from injury, 7.5 record, 4.35 ERA. Looking at this, his game logs here, 6 innings against the Mets, 7 Ks. We took him because it was against the Mets. We also took him against Pittsburgh. Got us 8 Ks there. We also took him when he came back from injury against Kansas City because he should have had a good game against Kansas City. Got lit up and only went 3 innings there, but he's been on track here. Again, though, the Orioles are a good team, especially at home. So looking at his splits, and, it's going to be a little bit different because he's been off, but on the road, 6.89 ERA doesn't bode well for going up against Baltimore. I mean, they've got Adley Rutschman, Santander, both are switch hitters. You've got Cedric Mullins is there. Aaron Hicks, if he starts, he's there. They've got some good hitters at home. I'm probably avoiding both of these pitchers. Probably looking at the bats on both sides. I don't think I'll want anything to do with either of these pitchers just because I don't trust a pitcher against the Dodgers, and I don't trust Urias on the road against this Baltimore team in Baltimore. Tampa Bay at the at the Rangers. Tampa Bay don't know who's pitching yet versus John Gray. John Gray, 52 plate appearances, 224 batting average, gets to pitch at home. Again, though, this is where I'll tell you, check the weather, because if it's hot and humid out and the dome is open in Arlington, it's going to be a problem because the ball flies out of there. John Gray and Tampa Bay, I know they're not at home and they've struggled, they've struggled lately. They had a 7 or 8 game losing streak there. Trying to see if he's faced Tampa Bay this year. He hasn't. His July is 2 starts, 5.25 ERA, so kind of a bad July so far. Splits, we can look at his splits here. Home, 4.47 ERA, away, 2.31. Again, if it's hot and humid, the ball can fly out of there, and we kind of can see that because at home, he's given up 9 home runs, away 4 home runs. So this one, I don't know. This one's kind of crazy to me because I kind of like him, but he's had a bad July so far. He's going up against Tampa Bay, who's a good hitting team as well. If it's hot and humid there, it is the middle of July. The ball could fly out of there, especially in the afternoon. This one I might steer clear of and just use the bats in this one. Again, I don't like a ton of these early games. Marlins at the Cardinals, Sandy Alcantara versus to be announced. I feel like we're going to go in that direction with to be announced a lot against for the Cardinals. Alcantara, 74 plate appearances, 141 batting average, 25.7. Those numbers are fantastic. Then you have to remember he has struggled for the most part this season. We can look at that. We can look at 3-8 record, a 4.64 ERA, not good. We can look at his game logs here, kind of see what do we like. In July, he's put together a better July. It's his best month so far. March, 4.76 in 1 start. You got April, 5.11. May was 4.85, 4.59 in June, and July, 3.57. Coming off a pretty okay game against Baltimore. 6 innings, 5 Ks, 2 earned runs. Both were home runs. It's given up 13 home runs on the season. Against Philly, 6.2 innings, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. So you're looking at 5 or 6 Ks there. And then split. So he is on the road in St. Louis. Splits are pretty even, kind of expected with what he's trending in the right direction. And honestly, I think he's a good tournament option. Again, I can't trust Alcantara here just because he has struggled this season. Cardinals also have struggled. So if Alcantara can get on and he is feeling it early, we could see 5 strikeouts. He is capable of double-digit strikeouts when he is on. So let's just hope that he is on very, very soon. I will be all over Alcantara today in tournaments. Next game, you got the Astros at the Rockies. Brandon Bilak versus Austin Gomber. I don't want anything to do with pitching in Coors, especially when it's not a stud pitcher. We did take Garrett Cole in Coors, and he had a really good game. I think he had 12 Ks. They floundered that start and lost, but I don't trust either here. I would rather stack the Astros, obviously. And they're going to be very expensive being in Coors. We know that. I'm looking at Bregman. I'm looking at Pena. Mauricio Dubon is there. Chas McCormick. Kyle Tucker. I will be looking at a full Astros stack, but you got to get a little bit crazy. You got to get creative with your pitching because it's going to be super expensive. If you want to go Austin Gomber as a very contrarian pitcher in case he, has a good game, we can look at that. I won't have any of Bilak, but we can look at Gomber here. And we can kind of see. Gomber, 8-7 record, 6.19 ERA there. Not the best, obviously. Faced the Yankees last Friday. This is the thing. He had a 7 ERA when he faced the Yankees. Then he had 6 innings of great ball. The Astros are way better than the Yankees this year. 6 innings in that game, 2 earned runs, only 2 strikeouts. So the strikeouts are low. In July, they're very low. He's got 3 total strikeouts in 2 games. Not the best. I'll throw him in a tournament because he'll be very low owned, probably less than 1% owned because it's Astros, but I'd rather take the Astros stack here. Next game, the Red Sox at the Athletics. Brian Bayo versus Ken Waldichuk. I want nothing to do with Waldichuk. I'm all over Bayo here against Oakland in Oakland. We can kind of just see we don't really need to dig in a lot, but 7.5 record, 3.14 ERA. There are talks with the Red Sox wanting to extend him. Whether or not that happens, we'll see. His July, 3.46 ERA against the Cubs, 3 earned runs in Wrigley, 5 strikeouts. Versus Texas, he only gave up 2 earned runs, only had 3 strikeouts in that one. So kind of just seeing, has he faced Oakland this year? He has not. Well, obviously, he hasn't faced anyone before. Again, you guys know, or if you're new here, if there's a pitcher that's never faced a team before, I love them. Specifically, if they're the Oakland Athletics, they are a bad team. I am all over Bayo. Love him for a early-only slate. Love him for cash or tournaments. And I don't want anything to do with Waldichuk here. Brewers at the Phillies, you got Colin Ray versus Christopher Sanchez. Ray, 9 plate appearances, 111. Sanchez, 2 plate appearances, nothing. Hasn't seen him before. Looking at Sanchez, I don't think I'll have any Colin Ray. I mean, did I not spell it correctly? Oh. No H. There we go. So Christopher Sanchez here, 0-3 record, 3.26 ERA. Kind of just looking how he's been in July. 2 games, 3.27 ERA, 11 innings. Does have 7 strikeouts. Had a good game against San Diego. Obviously, San Diego is a better team than Milwaukee. Hasn't been a ton. I don't mind Sanchez here. I think he'll be a cheaper option. We just got to go, 5+ innings, and I feel comfortable about him. I don't trust Colin Ray. I'd rather stack the Phillies, Trey Turner, Castellanos, Bryce Harper as probably a tournament-only option. Schwarber hitting a Schwarbomb today would not surprise me. I don't want anything to do with Colin Ray or really any of the Milwaukee bats right now. We'll obviously wait to see the news, notes, Vegas odds, weather, and all that comes in. then maybe that'll get me into the mood of a little bit of Milwaukee, but I'd rather take Sanchez and the Phillies bats. Now we can talk about Bruno. We can talk about all of the games because we don't need ESPN. Goodbye, not the worldwide leader in sports. Hello, DraftKings. Let's dig into it. Padres at the Blue Jays. You got Yu Darvish versus Jose Barrios. Darvish, 83 plate appearances, 299 batting average, 26.5 K percentage. Barrios here, 61 plate appearances, a 232 batting average, 27.9 K percentage out of him against this team. We know the Barrios backstory. Really well in Minnesota, came to Toronto, got lit up, has had good games, has had bad games. Let's take a look at both of these pitchers. They're right next to each other in price-wise. So Yu Darvish against his old game log against Philly, a really good hitting team, gave up 5 hits, only 1 earned run, had 9 strikeouts in that one, 29.3 fantasy points. Not a good game against the Mets, which he should have had because the Mets are not good. He's had a couple of stinkers there. And this is Toronto, so we know that Toronto's a really good hitting team. We know this. Let's check his splits. On games away games, 8 games started, he's got a 253 batting. I mean, he's got a really good... his ERA on the road, 5.52. Not good. That leads me to believe that we are looking at Toronto bats. Depending on who it is, you're at the top. You're at George Springer. You're at Bo Bichette. You're at Vlad. You're at Dalton Varsho. Just depending on what lineup is in there, I'll have some exposure to them. And then I'll look at some of the lefty bats that we could be looking at there. Barrios, on the other hand. Game log, his last game. Not so good against Arizona. 1 earned run, which is good. 4 Ks, went 5.1 innings. They ended up getting the W, but I want to say it was like 2-2, and then they scored like 5 runs in like the 8th inning or something like that. So he had a decent game, but he didn't get the W, so he didn't get the fantasy points. Then against the White Sox, went 7 innings with 6 Ks. Boston 8, Oakland 8 as well. His splits at home, he's got a 2.83 ERA. He's got a fantastic matchup. San Diego is reeling right now. I will be all over Jose Barrios, and I really like everything that he brings to the table in this game and matchup for today. So in this, I'm probably looking at Toronto bats, and I'm probably looking at Barrios over Darvish or San Diego bats right now. Yankees at the Angels, we got Carlos Rodon versus to be announced. It doesn't really matter. It seems like anyone who pitches against the Yankees right now are Cy Young candidates here. Rodon against the Angels in his past, 42 plate appearance, 235 batting average, 28.6 K percentage there. Let's dig into it. We know he's coming. This will be a 3rd game off the IL. Had a decent game against Colorado. Had 6 strikeouts but gave up 4 earned runs, and they just didn't give him run support. That is Colorado, so that's not too bad for Colorado. Now he gets an Angels team that supposedly is reeling, but anytime you pitch to Ohtani, that's basically it for that. This one, I want to like Rodon here. He's 8,500, so he's up there in price. Again, though, there's not a ton of games in this one, so that's kind of what we're looking at here. I will have some exposure to Rodon. It just depends on, he's got to get that run support. So if he can get those strikeouts there and limit the runs, and he could get the run support, then we could see some more fantasy points roll in. But at the moment, he's probably only a tournament option for me. And then we'll just kind of see. If the Angels are throwing out an actual starter, not an opener, you got to have some exposure to them. The way the Yankees are playing right now, I mean, Griffin Canning, we used him almost in every single lineup on Monday, and he had like 12 strikeouts. So, yeah, that's exactly what I would be looking at. So if this is a decent pitcher for the Angels that is not an opener, not a bullpen person, probably going to throw them in a couple of lineups against the Yankees. Giants at the Reds, Ross Stripling versus Graham Ashcraft. Stripling, 10 plate appearances, 300 batting average. Ashcraft, 23 plate appearances, 238 there. Looking at this, it's really... Now, Stripling I feel like he just pitched. Yeah, he just pitched on... Well, no. Okay, that was 7-14, 4.2 innings. He's not going deep into games, though, so there's no way I can use him. Even though in 4.2 against Pittsburgh, 15.5, but he's not facing Pittsburgh. He's facing Cincinnati right now. And then if we look at Ashcraft here, let's see. George Ashcraft against them. Game log here, Milwaukee, his last start, 6 innings, only 2 strikeouts. The strikeouts just aren't there. If we look at his splits, his home game, 7.16 ERA. That's because it's Great American Small Park. I'm probably avoiding both of these pitchers. I'm looking at the offenses here. So just depending on who it is, possibly for San Francisco, Jock Peterson, J.D. Davis, Conforto, Lamont Wade Jr., I don't mind. And the flip side of that, with the Reds, I'm looking at Joey Votto, Ellie De La Cruz, TJ Friedl, Jake Fraley, which is crazy because every single game at home for the Reds, I want to stack multiple different Reds bats. And I think that's how you got to do it until they slow down. They're one of the best hitting teams right now. Specifically, they're at home in this ballpark. Absolutely love that for us. So moving on to the next game, the White Sox at the Mets. You got Touki Toussaint versus Justin Verlander. Toussaint, 34 plate appearances, 222 against him. Verlander, 166, 252, and 21.1 K percentage there. So this one, the Mets just I don't understand the Mets. So looking at Toussaint, 5 innings. He's a starter with the Braves, and then he kind of went back and forth. Back-to-back kind of good games. Against Atlanta, they lost 9-0, but he went 5.1 innings, gave up 1 earned run and 4 strikeouts. Against St. Louis, he went 5 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts there. Against Oakland, 3.2 innings, 2 earned runs. So his earned runs are low. His splits on the road, 4.20 ERA. So he's more of a tournament option just because of how the Mets have been the Mets. So I will have exposure to him. He's a very cheap option, specifically on DraftKings, where he's 6,900 and you could afford other pitchers around with him there. And then Verlander, on the other hand, we see his price comes in 3-5 record, 3.72 ERA, game logs against the Dodgers, 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. He's not bad. Just looking, the White Sox, he hasn't faced them this year, I don't believe. His splits at home, 2.57 ERA. On the road, I would say no Verlander. But he is at home. It is the White Sox. They are without Eloy, so I don't mind Verlander. But I think both of these guys are still only tournament options for me on this slate. And no real bats jump out to me right now. But again, once the BVP numbers come out, once the weather comes out, Vegas, all of that, that is when we can form the bats in there. So this is why we break down as much as we can with pitching. And if you want to see the bats, we've got BVP, we've got umpire ratings, we got a lot of free information over on the website. So what I'll say is once you get done watching these videos, go check out FantasyTeamAdvisors.com because we've got a lot of information over there for you with MLB. And if you like MLB, you're absolutely going to love the NFL when we bring that back. Cannot wait for the NFL. Diamondbacks at the Braves is next. Ryan Nelson versus Charlie Morton. I'd rather take Morton here against Diamondbacks. I don't trust a pitcher against the Braves. And we can just look at it real quick. So Ryan Nelson, right here, has he faced Atlanta this year? He faced them back on June 3rd, 4.2 innings, 3 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. No, he had no strikeouts in that game against them. And he went minus 1.5 fantasy points there. And he's on the road, where his ERA at home's 8.08. That is because Arizona, Chase Field, that is Coors Field Jr. The ball flies out of there as well. Better on the road, but he's facing Atlanta. I don't trust him there. We can look at Charlie Morton. He is the 3rd most highest expensive pitcher here. We've got game logs here going up against Arizona. Has he faced them this year? He went into Arizona, 7 innings. I wish it would keep that up. 3 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. Not too bad. He's at home now. His splits at home, 355. He's a little bit worse at home, but he's going up against Arizona. Now, I know Arizona can hit really well, so this is one where he is expensive. He's the third highest priced pitcher there, so that is something to look at. Arizona, if they're on, they could hit him. So I'm a little bit weary on using him for cash, but I don't mind him for tournament options there. But I won't use Ryan Nelson here. I'd rather stack the Braves, and then I'll use Charlie Morton. You got to get a little bit creative with the Braves if you're going to stack. Everyone's going to go Ronald Acuna, Matt Olson, Austin Riley. You got to go flip in some, Ozuna, flip in some Michael Harris Jr. The second. It just depends on who's going to be in that lineup. I kind of like a wraparound lineup, or like 8-9-1-2 hitters or 9-1-2-3 hitters for the Braves. Nationals at the Cubs. We don't know who's pitching for the Nationals versus Kyle Hendricks. And I've been all over saying don't go with Hendricks. His game logs have really lately said that. Against Boston, 5.7 fantasy points, 5 earned runs in 4.2 innings. At the Yankees, 5.2 innings, 10 hits, 2 home runs, 4 earned runs, 8.8. Gets to go up against Washington, see if he's faced them this year. Doesn't look like he has, or at least not his last 10 games. Looking at that, the problem is he usually doesn't get strikeouts. He's getting these strikeouts, but he's giving up fantasy points here. So while I've been off of Hendricks, he's an intriguing option as long as the weather isn't, the wind's not blowing straight out at Wrigley. There's no rain, and he's in a good spot here. So looking at that, I don't mind Hendricks in tournaments because it is the Nationals he's facing. Moving to the next game, Tigers at the Royals. This is why Eduardo Rodriguez he's got good numbers against them. He's the highest priced pitcher on the main slate, 24.5K percentage against Ryan Yarbrough. And the thing is, if you've been with us for a while, you know that take a pitcher against the Royals at home. Love that. For whatever reason, he's been very expensive. Against Seattle, he was 9,700, but he did good. 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. So he's got back-to-back 7 strikeout games since coming back. Now he did face Kansas City back on May 23rd. Went 5 innings, gave up 8 hits, 2 earned runs, had 9 strikeouts in that one, had 19.3. He was 8,800 there. So he is expensive. His home 2.7, away 2.7. So they're identical. A little bit higher whip, but that's basically it. There's a reason he's the most expensive pitcher. He's got a fantastic matchup, and he's expensive, but we can find that exposure. You could go Erod at 9,500, maybe Hendricks at 7,200, or Toussaint at 6,900 to be a little bit more outside the box there. And then you got Ryan Yarbrough here. You're not going to use him. Is going deeper into games, but I don't think I can trust him enough. Start off, obviously, as a bullpen arm and has gone deeper past 3 games, but that's Cleveland, Oakland, Baltimore. Has been pretty good. He's kind of cheap. You know what? If he could go deep, this is why I like doing this with you guys live, because you dig into this a little bit more, and he makes an interesting option against Detroit. Looking at his splits, home games 7.36 ERA is kind of high though. Away games 3.57. Honestly, I don't think I mind him as a cheaper option at 5,500, because then you could go Erod, and then you could continue and you could build out lineups here. So that is an option for tournaments. I don't mind. Again, though, he's averaging 4.8, so don't expect a lot out of him. But if you are building multiple lineups, Yarbrough makes sense here. And then the final game here, you got Twins at the Mariners. You got Kenta Maeda versus Luis Castillo. Maeda against the Mariners, 49 plate appearances, 152 batting average, 40.8 K percentage. And then Castillo, 19 plate appearances, 158. So if you do look at this and you look at your pitchers, Castillo is the second highest on the slate, trying to see if he's faced Minnesota this year. He has not. He's pitched a lot this year. Coming off not such a good game against Detroit. We did take him in that game. Didn't do very good for us. Did have 5 strikeouts, though. And he is, he's expensive against Minnesota. His home games, 2.65 ERA. His away games, 3.51. So he makes sense, but I think I'd pay somewhere else. Pay up at Erod or pay up at Charlie Morton rather than Castillo in this one. And then we can look at Kenta Maeda. So Maeda, his last game, Against Oakland, not good. He only went 3 innings. Now, if you go back to when we talked about him, I said I'm very concerned with him because he's pitching on extended rest. So he pitched, I want to say, he pitched on July 4th, and he had 10 days in between there, right there. He had a good matchup against Oakland, only went 3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. He's been very inconsistent this year. I wouldn't use Maeda either. I would be stacking. I think I would look at Seattle bats against him. I don't know. Kelenic, J-Rod, Eugenio Suarez, Ty France, Cal Raleigh. Just depends on who's in there. So I am out on Maeda. Doesn't have a good matchup. I just don't trust him enough. And those are the bats that I probably would target against him. And then you can get a little bit more creative if you want to look at like Teoscar Hernandez, or you want to look at other bats that people might be off of. Just looking, we can look at the bats real quick for Seattle. J.P. Crawford, I don't mind him against Maeda. Colton Wong, possibly, if he's in there. Hasn't done much, though, for him. But, yeah, I'd look at J-Rod, Cal Raleigh, Kelenic, Hernandez, J.P. Crawford, France, Suarez. You could find some options. If is Mike Ford still up? I mean, he would be a cheap option if he starts, because he's 2,300, a lefty bat at home, and he does have home run power. He's got 9 home runs, a cheap option. Mike Ford might be a cheap option for you if you're looking that way. So hopefully you guys got what you needed here. If you found success in our other videos, let us know down below. We're building everything out for you. I do everything for you guys. I'm very excited for everything that we've built so far this MLB season and what we're going to build in the future as well. So that's the video, guys. Go check it out. Check the video I'm about to post here at the end. On the end screen, it is our NFL Week 1 matchup tool. Let me know what you guys think of it, and we'll be back tomorrow with a video. So good luck on this slate. Let's bring home some bacon. Peace!